Liz from Sex-Positive Psych, and as you can see, I've got friends with me today. I have Amp over here.
Hello.
Amp is fantastic, and we have Robin Wilson-Beattie.
Hi.
At Sexabled on Twitter, and you are at...
Pup_amp on everything.
Everything,
Take that, brand management.
But, so, as I'm sure all of you know by now, my book is coming out, or maybe has just come out, depending on when I put this up.
So excited.
I know. And one of the things I do throughout my book is I talk a lot about the mistakes that I've made in non-monogamy. So I wanted to put these couple folks on the spot and ask them some of their biggest monogamy fails, or non-monogamy fails.
Yeah.
So I figured I would go first, because it's only fair that I share my shame first of all of us.
Only shameful if you're ashamed of it.
It's true, it's true.
But
I'm not proud of how I acted in this instance.
Okay.
I'm not proud of that. And that's part of what makes it a really big fail. So, when I was living in Savannah, when I was stationed in Savannah, I started dating this guy that I met through the local atheist group. Because Savannah, Georgia, shockingly, does not have a huge polyamory community. And so the people most likely to go along with polyamory I found at the atheist meetup. And he seemed like a really great guy. He was totally down for trying out non-monogamy. He'd never really done it before, but like he was in to try. And I was lonely, so I was down for like walking him through it. Like we all do our beginner intro work at some point. So I thought I was super clear about what our agreements were when it came to like communication about sex we had with other people and barrier use with other people. We had decided to stop using barriers together. And so he was getting together with someone who had been a lover of his, who he was intending to break up with, and I was gonna be out of town that weekend. They got together, he said it went fine. I came back to town, we had sex. I'm like, oh wait, did you hook up with that lover of yours? He's like, oh yeah, I did. Did you use barriers? He's like, oh no, we didn't. Now, he was new, right? So, being the generous-hearted person that I can often be, I assumed he must have just not understood what it is that I wanted and needed. So I was like, okay, well, let me just clarify. When you have sex with someone, I would love to hear about that before I ask about it, because I don't always know what to ask for. So I'm really big on a positive flow of information. And if you're gonna decide to not use barriers with someone else, I especially need to know that before we have sex again, so that I can ask you some questions and figure out where I'm at in terms of wanting to use barriers or not use barriers. Mm-hmm. He was like, got it, on it, cool. So a month or two later, I have my surgery on my shoulder, so I don't see him for a few weeks. And when we get back together again, and we're hanging out, and he had met my parents who were out to take care of me when I had my surgery. I thought things were great and super serious. And then he gets this look on his face like a guilty puppy, and tells me that he has started having sex with his running buddy. She's married. Her husband thinks that they're monogamous. She's also very Catholic, and he's like violently atheist.
I'm at nope, bye.
And he tells me that they've been having sex without barriers, of course, after we've already had some sex. So I lose my damn mind, right?
What?
I yell, I scream. I am not proud of how I handled myself, right? And I am sure that we are broken up. We get together to discuss the like finalities of the breakup, and he brings his adorable dog. His dog, Violet.
How dare you?
She was the cutest thing, and she just softened my hard heart. And I was like, okay, we'll give it another chance. But rather than saying, like, I need to make decisions about me for this to work, I started imposing all of these rules on him for, like, what he had to do to, like, re-earn my trust, which is a fallacy of a concept, right? So I was like, you can't see her. If you do see her, she can't come inside of your house. You have to text me before you get together and text me when she leaves. If you're at your house, you can only hang out on the porch. Just all kinds of like policing the minutia.
Is come inside your house a euphemism or an actual? Okay.
Thank you for clarifying though. No, like I didn't want her going inside of his physical home.
Got it.
Because then they would bang, right? And like all of this shit, right? And so he, of course, I was setting traps for him to fuck up in. And of course he fucked up. And so then I set more traps, right? And so about a month in, he lets me know that they've decided to start having sex again. And I lose my shit again and like took all of the stuff that I had of his in my house and put it in a garbage bag and tossed it on his porch. And I can neither confirm nor deny that his house may have been TP'd shortly thereafter.
Damn kids.
Damn kids. Right? It's such a strange thing. But I think the big fail for me in there is that I got to this space of trying to force him to change and control him rather than taking what he was doing as evidence of who he is and as of evidence of what his behavior is going to be and making decisions about myself. Right? If I had accepted after the second time, oh, this is a thing that he wants to do, I could have instead taken a step back and said, okay, well, given that, what kind of relationship feels good for me here? Probably something much more casual. We're definitely going to go back to using barriers. He's not going to be like in this anchor slot in terms of my partnerships.
Yeah. And I think that's where a little bit of non-monogamy, people slip up and there are misconnections or misinterpretations of expectations on both sides, maybe. Yeah. He might have thought, well, I've been with someone before that, they were fine if we didn't use barriers every once in a while, so long as I told them eventually and it was okay. Whereas you had expectations of, let's be safe and let's be safer about our sex. But do you feel that there was miscommunications or?
No.
No?
No, because I clearly communicated the first time and I extra clearly communicated the second time.
This is Liz.
Like, I do a pretty good job of communicating.
No, that does not mean
that totally does happen sometimes. Gina Jorgensen, who is a folklorist that also looks at like sex and fairy tales, she coined the term misagreements, which is where you think that you've had an agreement, but you are agreeing to different terms. That totally does happen.
That, misagreements.
But I've shared my shame.
But also, biggest pet peeve, don't put a dog in your profile picture on a dating app if your dog is cuter than you.
That's
Which is not, I'm not trying to be mean, but like, I don't want to date your dog, and I'm gonna swipe, I might, depends on how cute the dog is, but also that is misleading.
Depends on how cute that dog is, though.
I mean, sometimes I might go on the date just to see the dog once.
That's what
but
I'm
like,
saying.
You need to bring the dog on the date.
That.
If your dog is in one of your dating profile pictures, bring the dog to the date. Anyway, your fails.
Speaking of misdirection, no, that didn't work. I've got one. I can go as far as non-monogamy goes. So I'm in a family that is very polyamorous. We have lots of different people and guest stars that come and go in many ways. And I'm the primary for my partner, and he's my primary. But we have special guests every once in a while, and kind of more incorporated family members, as it were. And I think we're really good at communicating. Like, we rarely have a fight. If we ever have a fight, it's about, like, why didn't you make the bed or something. Like, it's really small things, and we work it through that. We make our bed and then lay in it.
You're doing such great stuff with puns.
That is the one thing I didn't do so well with the disabilities, because I don't want to make jokes about disabilities.
Fair.
Otherwise, I'm pretty good about anyway. And so my biggest fail when it came to that is sometimes I feel that I'm very joking and I'm very like condescending to myself and maybe to other people, but only people that I'm very close with and I feel like I have a really good connection with. However, but I think that sometimes when it comes to polyamory, what I find joking can come off as really aggressive or really abrasive or like a territorial thing where one of those partners might have thought, oh, well, he was being really mean or he was trying to like, prove his territory and, piss on things so that you knew whose was whose. And I feel that was my fault for thinking that my humor was funny, when in fact it was really hurtful because there might have been a landmine on their side that I didn't even know about. Maybe I'm joking about something, but it's really hurtful to them. And we've definitely had issues in our family like that because it feels like I'm the primary and I'm the one that matters, when that's never the case. I never want someone to feel like they're not included in a family when there is a family dynamic.
Yeah.
And that's a hard one sometimes, especially if you're being polyamorous. The whole anarchy versus, what is it? Anarchy versus
relationship anarchy versus non-hierarchical polyamory versus hierarchical polyamory versus like more an open relationship or swinging or monogamish. Like there's so many things.
And this brings me then to my fail. Okay, when I first started realizing that, I first off lived in the deep South, lived in Georgia. Sorry. But I'm still, I'm Southern.
You're Southern on the inside.
I'm Southern till the day I die. But, so my husband at the time and I decided, we found that polyamorous was a term because we had been both engaging in very unhealthy non-monogamy, aka cheating, but
There is a difference.
There is
Communication and consent.
Yeah,
most importantly.
exactly. So we decided, okay, we were going to go about this more ethically, and there wasn't at that time. There wasn't really like community, or I mean, really, there were some resources like Ethical Slut, but I didn't have at that time. I hadn't hooked up with Sex-Positive community. I didn't have that. So he said, but where we found poly stuff was Live Journal. And
oh my God, Live Journal.
I know, right? Back in the day, I know.
Is that still around?
It is.
technically
It
still
is
exists?
because I went and hid everything because I wrote some shit that I do not want everybody else to know. And so found this woman, and then all of the jealousies and the couple's privilege, and I didn't know. I guess I was trying to do this hierarchical stuff, but it got to be, I was like, no, just that whole, no, you can't go out, y'all can't go out, you might have had a date, no, this isn't work for me, I don't feel like this, you can't do that. And then, but, at the same time, I'm wanting this to work, but I was just like, but at the same, I did it all wrong. I was way too involved. I didn't understand. I didn't think about a lot about her feelings and how that works. She actually was very educated about poly. We were that mistake couple that was, you're like, wow, we're poly now, and we want like this unicorn, like basically like just to fit in. And then I had this list too of you can't take her to the same places that we go, because one time we did go out on an ice cream date, the three of us, because I was trying to do like inclusive. I didn't know it was called like kitchen table and all that. And I was
So many
trying.
terms.
There's
They're all in
so
my
many
book.
terms.
So many terms. And I did, but at that time when you're just figuring it out and you're just, doing it all on a wing and a prayer, you'll fuck up. And that's what I did. And we went to this ice cream shop, and the guy was like, oh yeah, I've seen you guys, the two of them. And I was like, that's my husband. And then,
But feelings don't always make sense.
no, that's
Right.
the thing.
And the
Feelings
thing is,
don't.
feelings aren't wrong. We just
They're
may
not.
want to make different decisions that
Yeah.
our feelings want us to.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. And I wish that I had community and things like that around it, rather than sitting here trying to do bits and pieces off the internet of what I could find on what it meant to be poly.
Yeah.
But also I hadn't done that work on myself
Yeah.
about what it is, and or been realistic about, hey, this is what I can manage, and these are the expectations that I have. So.
Yeah. So I'm so glad y'all were willing to share your non-monogamy fails with me. As I said, I talk about mine a lot in my book, and I have a bunch of worksheets to help you avoid some potential non-monogamy fails. So be sure to check out my book. I'll put the link down below. I'll also put links for these fantastic humans. Right? I know. They're amazing. I feel so lucky. Any last stuff y'all want to talk about? Or
Go
you want
buy
to
her
promote?
book. Go
Yes.
buy it now.
I cannot wait to read this book.
Down there.
This,
Go
see,
click it.
now there's another resource. I wish this resource had been around back when I first started.
And if you buy it, ebook or print version, you get fillable PDFs of all of the worksheets.
I love
So you can
filling
do them
things.
as many times as you want.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming by, y'all.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.